Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. So glad you guys can join us once again. For those tuning in on the simulcast on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on X, we're glad you all can be with us today. We're about to connect with our friends over on Amazon Live as well, so we can bring you guys today's segment. And I think you guys are going to really enjoy this and also find it helpful for either you or maybe a family member or friend, because it's a topic that all of us have to deal with in some form or fashion, and that has to do with how to be able to put our best selves forward when it comes to pursuing a career or a job. And we're now live on Amazon Live with Cyrus Ware Presents. I'm going to type you guys a quick welcome message over there. If you guys are new to us on Amazon, welcome. Make sure you guys do hit that follow button, either here in this corner or down below. You also will see the book by our next guest. I'm excited to welcome Laura Browne and Barbara Limmer to our broadcast today. They're the co-authors of the book you guys see there, Interview Speak, and the subtitle of the book you all can see there, What Your Interviewer Really Wants to Know. We're going to talk to Laura and Barbara about how they came about writing this book, but also talk to you guys about the practical nature for it, how you can be able to use it for yourself and as a resource as well. If you guys are not following Laura and Barbara, we'll let you guys know how to do that too. But thanks to the two of you for the time. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having us, Cyrus. It's great to talk to you.
We're very happy to be here.
Yeah, the pleasure's definitely all mine. I feel like we've already had a great show before this show and get a chance to talk. Barbara, I'm going to bring you up first because I had a great conversation with Laura on the radio side. In fact, our audience can actually listen to it on the podcast here on Amazon Music. Barbara, what has it been like for you as a coach and now the co-author of this book to see the way that people are using it as a guide and resource when it comes to pursuing a new job or career?
Well, it just makes me very proud. The book was a long time in coming, and we worked on it for 2.5 years. And the idea preceded that, where my background in HR and career coaching, I was doing a great deal of mock interviews with people. And I realized several years ago that, every interview question has a question behind the question. What is the real question that employers want to know when they're asking their verbal questions? So I had this idea that we need almost like a translation guide, because if people knew what that real question was, they'd be much more successful in their job interviews. So we're just very proud to have birthed this book, and we're happy that it's finally out there, and it's also very timely right now.
Yes.
Yeah, and can I add to that?
Oh, definitely. Go ahead,
Okay, so actually, when Barbara and I started talking about this a couple of years ago, and I said, I think that there's a book here. And she said, no, we're not going to write a book together. And honestly, I just bugged her for a while. And I think I finally wore her down, because she finally said, okay, let's write this book. What's interesting for me, because I do think it's really timely, is the feedback that we've gotten from people about how they're using it. I mean, we have one person, I know a friend of mine used it. He got a job. I know somebody else, I was coaching her the other day, and she only had a chance to read part of the book because she had an interview the next day. And she talked about how it made her feel calmer. So I know from actual people I know, I've heard that, and we've heard plenty of comments from other readers. So I'm really excited that the information is out there for people.
Yeah, I love that. Laura, I'm going to stay with you, but Barbara, feel free to chime in on this too. The thing about, for myself, I haven't interviewed in quite some time, but as someone I shared with Laura when we had our radio interview, when I was in management for the hotel that I was with, and I would do these interviews, listening is such a big part of this, right? For one, listening to the person who's being interviewed, but also that person listening to us and what we're really asking. How much of that are you finding has been a challenge for people, Laura, to be able to realize the importance of actively listening and really hearing what's being asked of them?
Oh, absolutely. It's a big one, especially if somebody has been interviewed before, or if they have been interviewing other people. They're like, I got this, I know this. And then we talk to them, and we actually practice with them. And I'm like, oh yeah, you don't know what's actually going on. And actually, one of the things we talk about in the book is really hearing and really listening, because one of the problems is people hear the first part of the question and they glom onto that, and then they don't hear the second part of the question. And so their answer is only partly right. But if they really paused and really listened, instead of assuming, oh, I know what this question is, or I can do this, their answer would be so much better. So that's one of the things we really focus on, really listening to the whole thing.
And we have a chapter called Listen to the Question, the Whole Question, and the Heart of the Question, because I've had a number of people where, again, as Laura said, they glom onto the first part, but they miss the heart of the question, which very often might be at the end. So that's extremely important to be successful in interviews.
And I love the fact that with this book, that you all also allow us to be able to see the importance of our own experiences. I think for a lot of times when you're going in for interviews, you don't think about how your experience had really having ideas that it can be able to share with the interviewer can help them to better understand how you would appreciate and tackle different situations. Barbara, why don't you start there? Talk to us about the importance of, especially when it comes to being asked about your experience, why it's important for them to give them real examples of what you've been able to do and the impact that was able to make.
Well, yes, that's just crucial. In fact, even when an interviewer words their question in such a way that they're not asking for a concrete example, it's important to give an example. In other words, if you're asked, how would you handle this? Your answer will have so much more impact if you turn it around and give a real example instead of a hypothetical. Or the interviewer might say, how do you typically handle this? Well, rather than staying general like that, convert your answer and give an actual example, which will always have more impact, real pain if you were trying to solve a problem, and real results that will always be more impactful than just talking in generalities or hypotheticals.
Yeah.
Laura,
And I want to just add to that, that one of the things we really talk about is we talk about the importance of preparation. And so we actually break down a real job description and say, based on this description, here are the kinds of questions that you could be asked. Now come up with some good examples, because you don't want to be in the middle of an interview and somebody asks a question and you're thinking, and say, well, the first example that comes to mind, you never want to say that, because the interviewer doesn't want the first example. They want the best example. So that's why we say pick a bunch of examples in the preparation so that you can sort of pull them out of your pocket when you know you're going to get some of these questions. And it makes it so much easier. So you don't beat yourself up after the interview and go, oh my gosh, why didn't I remember that one? And so that's why we really focus on preparation.
Laura, I'm going to ask you another question in connection with that when it comes to preparation, because I think I remember, back when I was doing interviews, again, that's been a while back, is that so much emphasis was put on what you look like. People really put so much on that. And what I mean by that, of course, is how you dress. That was the big thing. No one really talked about what you actually said. Are you finding that to be one of the things that people appreciate about interview speak, is that you do bring to the heart of, okay, yeah, it's great to be able to, for someone to see you're capable physically maybe of doing a certain job, or that you are, you show up and show the respect for the interview, but also have something to say that can be valid but also usable.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because that sort of touches on something that most people don't realize. So most people focus on the first part, which is, okay, in this interview, I need to convince them that I can do this job. Look, I have a resume and I have some examples. That's the first thing. But the other thing we talk about is you need to convince them, number two, that you want this job and you're excited about this job. Obviously, they know you want a job because you're interviewing. But you need to really convince them that, wow, I want to do this job. And if you hire me, I won't quit, immediately, and I won't get bored and things like that. And so that's important. And then the third thing we talk about, which is really important, once they know you can do the job, you're excited to do this job, is will you fit in with the culture? And so you need to be able to show all of those things. Now, the culture may not come up in the first interview, but certainly when you're talking to your immediate manager, then they're going to want to know, are you going to annoy the other people that work on this team, or are you going to get along with them? And so it's not just about showing up looking the right way or saying some sort of buzzword answer. It's about really understanding, what do I really need to convince the interviewer of? And that's what we focus on.
I think another big part of this book, and again, for those who have not gotten your copy of it, I definitely recommend you guys do it. I, of course, got mine here on Amazon. I got the print edition here. What I think is so important for our audience, Barbara and Laura, is that they understand, of course, that so much can be learned by not only what is said, but also the way it's being said. And I think a lot of times, again, having that confidence comes up as well. But Barbara, you all also have something, some fun parts of this book too. Talk to us about Clueless Clark and how that kind of came up in the book, and what you hope readers take away from that as they're thinking about their interview prep.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. But that was actually something that was not in the initial edition of the book when we put it out for review, which is something our publisher did.
Mm-hmm.
We were told from people that they wanted not just the positive examples, but they wanted negative examples. And Laura and I kind of scratched our head like, really? They want to hear bad examples? So we came up with the idea of Clueless Clark because I think people learn from other people. So reading about this person, and some people might say, oh, he's an exaggeration. You know, he's based on real stories we've either experienced personally or we've been told. And after the book came out, we had people read about it, and we had people say, you know what? I've interviewed Clueless Clark before. One guy even said I was Clueless Clark. So we show not only what he says kind of in sort of an arrogant way, and he's trying to portray himself as being confident, but there's such a thing as overly confident to the point where you're not likable. And if you're not likable, you're not going to get hired. But then we go through and say, so what did he get wrong and what should he have said? So I think it makes it easier for people to learn from other people's mistakes, not only him, but the other people that we have in the book, and showing their examples.
Barbara just hit on something really special. And Laura, you and I did not talk about this, but I think this is a great time to bring this up because I think for a lot of people, like for myself, when I first heard about the book, my first thought when I went to Amazon to read about it was, okay, what type of book is this? Because I read a lot of books and I'm like, okay, is this just like a textbook? But it's not. It really is an opportunity for us to engage with the book. Mm-hmm. Laura, how important was that for us as we look at examples like Clueless Clark, like what Barbara was just mentioning, that we use the book almost as a way of being able to say, okay, here's an opportunity to take a note, to really reflect and to think about this and to really make the book a part of our own selves as we're kind of going through it.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that. So it's interesting because, I mean, I've read plenty of textbooks, and we did not want this to be another textbook. The fact is, I mean, if you're out job hunting, it's really stressful. We wanted to make this easy, and we wanted to make it sort of fun. And so, of course, we have Clueless Clark, which makes it fun. But we also have 4 other characters in there. And the characters all are asked a question. They give good answers, and we show how they're better answers. So you can get involved in these other people, and you can think, oh, do I do that or not do it? And then we have cartoons in there. We break down sentence diagrams to show what they really mean. And one of the chapters, which we did not plan initially, but one of the chapters is actually a whole interview. And so you can see, oh, this person, Mia, she goes through this interview and then she gets interrupted a bunch by the interviewer. And so we talk about why was she interrupted? What did she do well? What could she have done differently? And so it's not a textbook. It's really just a guide book. It's almost like we wish we could sit there and talk to you at a table and say, hey, let me give you some advice. But since we can't, this is our way to do that.
Love that. And it's a great opportunity, again, because of the timely nature of it. I want to say for those who are just tuning in, welcome. You all are watching Cyrus Web Presents here on Amazon Live. And I do appreciate the hearts over there on the Amazon side, as well as also on YouTube. If you guys have any questions or comments for Barbara or Laura, make sure you guys do put those in the comment section. I do appreciate the hearts over there on YouTube. Also appreciate you guys that are tuning in over on X as well. Appreciate the retweets. We're talking about the book Interview Speak. And again, the subtitle of the book is What Your Interviewer Really Wants to Know. And of course, you can get the book here on Amazon. We're going to also let you guys know how to stay connected with Laura and Barbara as well. The other thing that, and I'm going to bring you up for this, Laura, because I think this is an important thing in life that I think we all have learned. But I think in interviews, you all show the importance of it too, is even acknowledging our failures, what we've done wrong. and what we've learned. Because again, none of us are perfect. I remember I was sharing with you, Laura, that I was working with my dad on doing his initial interview online, and they asked about situations where he may have, lost his temper or may have gotten upset. How did you handle situations? Why is it important to be honest, even in those situations where maybe you didn't put your best self forward, but you learned something from that experience?
Well, here's the thing. We are human beings. And interviewers, especially, if you've interviewed for a little bit, you know the BS answers. When they say, oh, what are your weaknesses? Oh, I'm too much of a perfectionist. Yeah, I mean, come on. That's such BS. And so when you say a BS answer, then we don't trust you. We don't want to move you forward. But when you recognize and when you admit, look, I'm human, and, I did make mistakes, but I learned from it. That's the kind of answer we want. And so in there, we talk about the fact that we use a negative sandwich where you say a positive, you say a negative, and then you say a positive. And so it could be something like, well, normally I do this, this, and this. However, in the past, there was a time when I did this, but what I learned was this. And so now I do it this way. And so the interviewer finds out, first of all, you're human. You're willing to admit some mistakes, and so you have some humility, and you've also learned from it. And so, and then also, if you can connect it to something with the job, that's even better. So yeah, you have to show up as human, because otherwise we will see right through you.
I love that. Barbara, I want to ask, I'm sorry, go ahead,
I'm
Barbara.
sorry. I just wanted to add something. It's as if the whole way you should approach this is confidence with humility. Too much of either is not a good thing. And by admitting some of these mistakes or weaknesses or whatever you want to call it, you're basically conveying, here's why I'm a better candidate for you now after having lived through this, learning from it, and altering my approach. So it's very impactful and also does a great deal of building rapport with that interviewer when they realize this person isn't giving me BS. They know themselves, and I want that person on my team.
Love that. Hey, Stacy, good to see you over there on Facebook. Stacy says she enjoyed talking with you as well, Laura. She's part of our book team over there as well.
She was great. Yeah, she was really fun.
Barbara, I wanted to ask you a question, Laura, and ask you a similar question, because I think now that we've been talking about this topic, I think we should go back a little bit to why this was something that was so important for you to do. And I wanted to set it up first with the book, because, of course, that's the main focus of this conversation. But I also want to talk about your own experience. Talk to us, Barbara, about what it's been like for you as a coach and now as an author to not only be able to give an individual the tools they need to present themselves, put their best self forward, but also to let them know how they can do it in a way that will set themselves up for success.
Yes. Well, again, in all of my years of doing mock interviews, I've done real interviews in my first career as an HR person, and a great deal of mock interviews in my career as a coach. And I just felt it in my bones that this information was needed out there. Again, if you knew the real question behind the question, you'd do so much better. I've actually done that live in my mock interviews, where I'd say to a client, your answer was good, but you were answering this question, and here's what my real question was. And then they'd say, oh, if I knew that, I would have answered it this way. Well, let me hear that answer. And then they would knock it out of the park. So it's just very gratifying to have this information out there to help many more people than Laura and I could help on our own.
Yeah. Laura, for you, I mean, as you kind of think about your own past experiences, we've been talking about that in the interviews, right? How has that kind of set yourself up with Barbara to be able to not only to write a book like this that gives these practical tips, but also literally helps to set the reader of the book up for success?
Well, and it's so interesting because I think back to, let's just say, my younger self, and I messed up plenty of interviews. I was not good at interviewing, and I learned this throughout the years. And then I was, in HR and in tech companies. And so I wish then I had something like this, because I wouldn't have messed up so many things. I would actually have gotten some of the jobs that I wish I had. And so part of me is like, I feel like I'm writing it for my younger self or other people like that are not used to this. And the other thing is, as a coach, I was giving some of this information to people, but I would just give it piecemeal. Now that we have it all in one place, literally, I tell people, okay, get the book, and now let's talk about it. And the feedback that I've gotten is great because, as Barbara said, we can't get to everybody. And so we just want to make sure that this information is out because, again, the job market is really, really difficult. And it's just so hard. If you get an interview, you want to make sure you do the best job possible. So we want to make sure people have this information.
I want to say one of the things I wanted to make sure I mentioned, that made a note of it, is that the subtitle of this section is translating other things interviewers say before, during, and after the interview. And I wanted to read this and ask the two of you about it. You say, in addition to being prepared for questions, candidates should also understand other things that interviewers may say. Each company has its own processes. However, some common things are said verbally and in written correspondence. I want to talk about that because I love the fact that I'll give examples even of that. If someone gives an answer and the interviewer says, excellent, thank you, that was a good answer. You give us a translation. Talk to us about that, Laura, and what we need to be paying attention to not only during the interview, but also before and after.
Well, and so each company has a different way that they do it. But the point is, we mostly focus on the interview, but you've got to think about what are the emails you're getting before? What's the message that you send afterwards? And it's not like any of us are, writing little notes and putting them in the mail afterwards, but there are some things that you should be emailing afterwards to reinforce this so people remember you, because maybe you're one out of 10 candidates. So what is it that you're doing before and after so people will remember you and think, okay, she's the person that I want to move forward?
Yeah, I love that. Barbara, what about for yourself? I mean, what should we be thinking about after the official interview may be over? What would you add to we need to be thinking about after that and moving forward?
Well, not to let the communication and relationship end when the interview ends. So thank you notes. I mean, it doesn't have to be a handwritten thing anymore. It can be an email or a LinkedIn message, and not just the standard, oh, thank you, I appreciate your time, but give them information to remind them who you are and why you're such a great fit. That's your opportunity to add anything. If you did leave the interview going, oh man, I should have said this, I should have told her about this experience. You've got an opportunity to continue that communication. And remember, it's about that relationship. I mean, even if this interviewer doesn't become your employer, guess what? If you built rapport, they could now be part of your networking contacts. And if you don't get this job with them, they might refer you to someone else, or there might be another opening at their company that you're a fit for. So it's all about preserving that relationship and keeping that communication going.
I love that. And I totally agree with what you just said, Barbara. It's all about the relationships. Because who knows what could happen after that if you make that right impression, for sure. What a great conversation. And again, it's such a timely one. Again, the book you guys see here, it's Interview Speak. You all can get it here on Amazon, either in print, we're going to highlight it for you guys, or the Kindle edition as well. So make sure you guys take advantage of that. Barbara and Laura, thank you all so much for being with us. Laura, let our audience know, how can they stay connected with you?
Absolutely. Well, I'm on LinkedIn all the time, and it's Laura Browne, Browne, because I have to be different. So look for me on LinkedIn, and especially tell me how you found me. So say I saw you with Cyrus. The other thing you can do is my website, careercoffeebreak.com, or send me a message, laura@careercoffeebreak.com, and I'll have a cup of coffee with you virtually. So that's how you can connect with me.
Love that. Barbara, what about for yourself? How can they stay connected with you?
I'm active on LinkedIn as well. Limmer. I always say it's like Slimmer without the S. You can find me pretty easily on LinkedIn. Send me a message, send me a connection invite. I'm always happy to chat with people about our book and how it helped them, or even our conversation today.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. Stacy says these women are great at educating others. I agree with that, Stacy. And I appreciate all of you guys. Appreciate all the hearts over there on Amazon Live. Hope you guys will get the book for yourself. Stay connected with Barbara and Laura as well. Thanks to the two of you for stopping by the program. Really appreciate the time.
Thank you so much, Cyrus. This was wonderful.
Thank you. I
I
appreciate
enjoyed
that.
it.
And we thank your audience for tuning in. It's another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents. Until next time, y'all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.